morning, everyone. I am Tanu Arora from Shamsher Bahadur Saxena Law College. I work as an assistant professor over there. Today, as we all know, yesterday I've given there my introduction and where I stated that I'll take a lecture on the paternity of the child. So here, before we'll start with the topic, I want to wait for a minute. I want to wait for a minute so that people can be connected. So till the time I'll give my introduction and I'll wait for that particular period. I'm a research scholar as well in BPS Kanpur Sonipat, and I have some various achievement in past years. I have attained gold medal in LLM course, and from various departments I have achieved various good achievements. So I hope people have connected, and because the 1 minute has over, so hope so I'll be able to make you clear about the concepts. Before starting with the topic of paternity of child, I would like to tell you some terminologies such as what is the conclusive proof, what is the rebuttable presumption, what is irrebuttable presumption. Because before understanding the concept of paternity of child under section 112, you also understand the concept of the rebuttable presumption, irrebuttable presumption and conclusive proof. What is conclusive proof? In as per the Conclusive Proof and Evidence Act definition, that is stating direct definition into this, but where the court doesn't apply the presumption by itself, rather it is a statutory presumption. Statutory means like a presumption of law, where one or two facts being proved, the court will take the third fact, which is the primary fact, into the consideration directly. And once the court has taken the conclusive proof, now you cannot rebut it. Means, what is rebut? Here I told you I'll explain about the rebuttable, irrebuttable. What is rebuttable? What cannot be irrebut? Means like the conclusive proof cannot be irrebuttable, rebutted. I mean, like, once it has been proved, you cannot give the evidences on a particular fact. That is the conclusive proof, that is finally proved. The court will not anymore listen you on particular point of time. And what you can rebut means, what the means is like, rebutting means where you can disprove a particular fact till the satisfaction of the court. Means you have to the proving a fact, or other party will disprove it again and again, cross examination, multiple facts will be there, but those facts must be relevant. The court will not take those facts which are irrelevant in itself. So now I'll discuss about the concept of the paternity of child. Here I would like to tell you the purpose of section 112, because without purpose there cannot be any understanding of any section. The purpose was simple, the intention of legislation was very clear. It was that to prevent the bastardization of a child and to maintain the chastity of a female. Means, if people if a child will not get the name of a father, it is so definite that the child will be called by the societal as a bastardized child, and the female from whom the child has been begotten or delivered will be considered as the child as the woman is an unchaste woman. Hence, it is for the legislature which has given section 112 as a conclusive proof presumption. But what is required to prove under section 112? To understand section 112, we have to see the section into the two ways. That is the primary fact and the secondary fact. What is the primary fact? The child wants a paternity. The child wants a legitimacy. So in that context, what is the legitimacy? That the child wants the father name. Means he wants the paternal name and the tag, the surname. And how he wants to take these names means four things which are essentially required. That is, first is that there was a valid marriage and child was begotten during the valid marriage, and if the marriage has been dissolved even by the death or by the divorce. As we know, the marriage can be ended as per the choice, like even in without the choice, like as a death caused to someone, as a husband, as if he is died, or the woman doesn't want to live with him, or husband doesn't want to live with her, it means like by way of divorce. In those two ways the marriage can be dissolved. And third is where there is non-access between the male and the mother, means like there is non-access between the male and mother, means there is no sexual intercourse, no intimidation between both the partners. Here I'll give you one example for that. Let us assume there is Mr. X, the child name is X. He wants to take the paternity from Mr. A, who is a male, and X is a child of Miss B. He wants to take the paternity from A. For that purpose, what X need to prove? It is not like the court will call anyone in the society that you have to prove the paternity of the child. No, it is not like that. You have to prove before the court that there is some facts which are essentially required. First, that is, there was a valid marriage. Second, if the marriage got dissolved, there was 280 days between the marriage, dissolution of the marriage with the child begotten. Third, there was a proper access. There was a proper access between Mr. A and B, because X is proving here. So A has to prove that X has to prove that there was a proper access and had an opportunity to have this access between both. So if these facts would be proven, the court will take as a conclusive proof. Now, if the male, it is not like that only the child and the mother will get the benefit of section 112. There is one term which can be taken by the father, the male also, against whom the paternity is claiming, like as the male can prove there was a non-access between the male and the mother. Why? The purpose is that whenever we talk about the social justice and natural justice, we cannot tilt it only towards one side of the party. We have to listen both of the side. So here, till the time he is not able to prove, if he is not able to prove that there was non-access between the male and the female, the particular mother of the child, then the court will take as it is a conclusive proof. Means once the court had taken as a conclusive proof, even the DNA report. In 2005, there was a judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court in just a minute, I'll tell you. Banarsi Das versus Tiku Dar in 2005, Supreme Court stated that the DNA report cannot be supersede upon the point of conclusive proof. That is so clear that you cannot supersede section 112. Will it be justified in the thought of a recent scenario? Will it be justified if the DNA test will be declined? I think so. It is not justified, because you are looking on the one side of the party, not the other side. Means obviously the Honorable Court has given the judgment, they have right in everything, and they can give the concept on this. But there are things which are required to prove by both the parties, like which is required. So section 112, what is required? There was a marriage, that too valid marriage. There was an proper access, opportunity to have an access between the male and the mother, and there was a 280 days. That is called the 280 days, means like if the marriage got dissolved, then mother 280 days has been gone. Within the 280 days, the child has been begotten or conceived and delivered. And if the marriage is been there, so the mother should remain unmarried, means like she must not has get remarried to someone else. And hence, if these facts been proved, the court will take the conclusive presumption of that. Now the term is arised. If you look it upon the section 112 of Indian Evidence Act, you will find the word mother, not wife. Why? The purpose is just that the using of the word wife is not there, rather the mother is there. Just that the child is claiming the paternity, not husband is claiming that she belongs to him. Means like here the concept of is rising by the the child that he wants to take the paternity right of the father. Here the mother doesn't come into the wife doesn't come into the existence. Had the word mother, had the word wife been used into this, then it is totally burden upon the male that he is a husband of the particular lady and he has to accept the paternity ground. So in the name of the social justice, the word mother has been used and the word wife has not been used into this particular criteria. So it is all about this thing. And here there is another case, that is Amarjit Kaur versus Harbhajan Singh in 2003. Honorable Supreme Court has given another thing about this, that is that if the purpose of the purpose of section 112 is to prevent the child from bastardization and maintain the child women chastity, and also and to do the social justice, individual justice within the respect of the particular child, so that there should not be any injustice should be caused to that particular child. Now I'll discuss about whether the DNA test can be regulated as a normal retinue. I think so. It is. What I think, it doesn't matter. It is the Honorable Supreme Court has stated in various judgment and stated that it cannot be given as a matter of routine, especially in the case of Gautam Kundu versus State of West Bengal 1993, in which the Honorable Court stated that if the thing has been given as a matter of right, as a matter of routine, then the various child will remain without father name and the tag of bastardization will be easily available to every child. And at the same time, only in the cases where the prima facie things are being made that there is some another undue influence, undue advantage been taken by the child who is claiming the paternity, only in those exceptional cases the DNA test will be allowed. One more thing I want to explain by way of another judgment of Supreme Court in Kamti Devi versus Poshi Ram 2003 of Supreme Court, in which it has explained the concept of excess and non-excess of the between the husband and between the male and the female. Excess and non-excess, earlier it was directly you have to prove by the way of the evidences that there was a sexual intimidation between the male and the particular lady. But being such an act of a private means that is such a private act which cannot be proven by any direct evidences. So the court has allowed the way of opportunity, means there must have certain kind of opportunity between the male and the female. There must have caused the sexual intimidation has done between them, means it is being proven by the indirect evidences, because the direct evidences cannot be proven this thing. Another aspect which Honorable Supreme Court has given another dimension of DNA report in case of Brahmani Prasad Jinna versus Kanzab Society, Orissa State Commission of Women in year 2010, in which Honorable Justice R.M. Lodha given certain guidelines in this particular case and said that the matter of retained DNA will not be granted. Second thing, it is possible that the DNA report will supersede the conclusive presumption, means it is in year 2010 and the Indian Evidence Act come into the existence of 1872. After so many years the court has given this right, the DNA report will be considered into supersede the conclusive presumption. The thing is, why? In recent era, the scientific things has been developed so fast and technology has developed so fast where the direct evidence can be given for the purpose of proving the paternity and decline the paternity of a particular child. Hence, in this case, Honorable Justice stated that it would not be granted in case of matter of return, but if it is granted and it is found by the court that it is the other party is taking advantage into of the other grounds, the DNA report can supersede it. Secondly, only in eminent cases, eminent needed, the word eminent needed used into this particular topic, in which it was stated that eminent needed means like only in essentially needed areas the court will allow the DNA report, but as a matter of routine will not be allowed. Hence, DNA test report is still not allowed as your matter of right. Similarly, the case has been another case which has reiterated the same fact in case of Nandalal Basudev Badwik versus the Lata Basudev Nandalal Badwik in year 2014, in which the daughter claimed the paternity and claimed the maintenance into the particular from the father, and here the male denied for the paternity. He said, I am not the father of this particular girl, and again he said you can go for the test of DNA report. The court once allowed the DNA test. Again she asked for the DNA test report, and second time, it was the first time in Indian history when the re-DNA test was allowed by the Supreme Court of India. And then thereafter, in this case, it was found by the Honorable Court that the girl was manipulating with the laws, and she was trying to manipulate the other aspect of the laws, and hence here the justice was done with the male, and in this case the DNA report was supersede even the conclusive proof of the fact. Similarly, I have so many questions in my mind whether the DNA report can be taken as a thing where it taken away your right to privacy. Means like once you have had any kind of relationship in the past, will it be discriminate on this various ground, and will it be infringement of your right to privacy? Always remember, whenever you have any right, it will not be without any kind of restrictions. Means it is not an absolute right. As you go through from the fundamental right of Indian Constitution, you will come to know there are various restrictions with your fundamental rights. That too, whenever you have right, you have similarly at the same time you have duties, which you cannot supersede the other people duties. Means you have right, but you cannot curtail other people duty rights. Means like you have to protect your rights, at the same time you have to maintain the dignity of other people rights. Means that is your duty. Means whenever you have right, you have a corresponding duty, as we always study in the concept of the jurisprudence and right and duties chapter. So once you have proven all the things, means right to privacy can be said that after giving the DNA samples your right to privacy being infringed. Answer is no. Why? The answer is no, just because of it. The thing is, you don't have absolute right on your fundamental rights. Means the government, the state, the legislature will put certain kind of the restrictions where you have to be open out about your rights. If you are right, okay, fine, the government and the legislature status will not say anything. But at the same time, that is talking about the Article 21. Will giving the blood samples or giving giving anything for the purpose of DNA report, will it amount to self-incrimination, which is provided in Article 20 clause 3? Means self-incrimination is what? Means self-incrimination is something which is you share your knowledge, you share something which is within your personal knowledge. Means you are sharing certain documents, you are giving any kind of the statement which will be against you, and means will make tie you in certain things. Hence it will not be a self-incrimination, because giving blood samples, giving samples for the purpose of the to know the fact of whether it is true or not, it doesn't amount to self-incrimination. It was stated in the case of State of Bombay versus Karthi Kalu in year 1962 by the Supreme Court that it is not a self-incrimination, because had it been, then the police officer who are testing you while you're driving the cars during if you're alcohol at the point of time, if you're drunk, then it would also be coming to the self-incrimination. Hence whenever that is talking about anything, you have to be limited as per your rights and also maintain the right duties of other people. Now another thing which I want to tell you, that we must be it must be like whether section 112 of Indian Evidence Act, which were meant in year 1872 and in right now we are staying in 2020, it is sufficient. In my opinion, in Law Commission report's opinion, it is not at all sufficient. In year 2003, Law Commission of India has given a report that is called the 185th report. In para 6, it is stated that it need to get amended. Means it required two parts. It need to amend it by way of adding two exceptions. adding to exception, what means, like first exception that there must be adding of the DNA test report and some other aspects of the scientific proven fact which will save the time of the courts. Means if you have some way to prove your paternity, why to spend time or to waste time on a particular fact to 1 year or 2 year or 3 year when you can prove it by the way of 10 days. So hence we can say that one exception was required to be added into this way, and second exception was that it is to be required to add in the concept, means like the male, if he declined for the purpose of giving any kind of test sample, DNA test sample, or any kind of blood sample, then it is amount that he is waiving his defense. Means like he is accepting the paternity of the child, means like he is leaving his defense, means he doesn't want to take the defense, means there must be something fishy into this. Hence, if it is made such kind of the burden upon such person, so the time will be saved of the court and various things will be proven directly by the scientific manner. One more thing, in recent scenario we all are aware about the concept of live-in relationship and various things, homosexuality, surrogacy concept. These are the things where you don't think so, like what the child, if begotten or conceived, delivered at the time, then he or she, how the person will get the paternity, means how the person will get the legitimacy tag. Otherwise so many things will be happen with that innocent child there, where he doesn't have and she doesn't have any kind of fault. In that context, I want to tell you the status of child if he has been or she has been begotten by the way of live-in relationship. What is live-in relationship? We all are aware about the things of live-in relationship in the context of where male and female share the same household, share the same roof, share the same house for the purpose of cohabitation, and in that sense means like they are sharing the same thing. In that sense, without taking any kind of responsibility and without taking any kind of accountability for that purpose, these people are not getting married. Means like obviously if they want to get married and they want to take the responsibility, they could have married. In this concept, they don't want to take the responsibility and accountability, hence they decline they have gone for the purpose of live-in relationship. But what will be the consequence if the child has been begotten and conceived, delivered and come into the world after this? He is totally innocent, there is no fault on this. On this ground, we have human rights, because the child who has born, he is having the human rights. And if the male has deserted the female and the female has deserted the male, then what will happen with those? In that context, obviously female will get the right under the Domestic Violence Act 2005 in case of maintenance. She will get the right into this. But what about the child who wants to get the legitimacy? In that context, we have to see the four concepts of the child right. Like as first is legitimacy, second is property, third is custody, fourth is maintenance. Means these four rights are basic right for that particular child. But here I'll discuss only the legitimacy of the child, because I am totally focused upon this topic. The legitimacy, if the legitimacy being proved, these three rights will be proven directly. Means like you need not to give so many evidences for the purpose. Only legitimacy once proved, there would be no another question for that. Hence, in that ground, if legitimacy been proven, the child will get the father name. In the case of given by the Supreme Court in S. Balasubramaniam versus Surukattam 1994 Supreme Court, stated that if a male and a female share the same house, share the same roof and stay for the long cohabitation, then section 114 of Indian evidence stands there. And then what happens? It gives the presumption that they are living as a husband and wife, and if the child come out of such a relationship, the such child will be the legitimate child. Means section 112 will give, and plus 114 will come automatically into the existence. Secondly, if these things has been proven, then the court, another cases by the Supreme Court which has given the various dimension to the recent scenario. At the same time, Article 39F of Indian Constitution gives upon a state responsibility to take care such a kind of deserted child if any person is trying to desert these kind of child, state will actively take participant to providing the right to such child and to provide the protection to such child and to provide maintenance as well. In year 2008, Tulsi versus D, there was a case in which the Supreme Court directly stated about the concept of the child from live-in relationship is a legitimate child, it's no more a illegitimate child. Now in 2010, a case came, that is Bharat Martha and other versus R. Vijay Ranganathan and other. In 2010, Supreme Court has given the right of inheritance of property to a child out of the live-in relationship from the property of the parents. Means like indirectly is giving the right to the property and giving the legitimacy tag to the child. So there are so many grown has done till the time. Means the law is doing so well for the, and the Supreme Court especially giving so many directions and guidelines for the purpose of protecting such children who are deserted, who, what will happen with those children in future will come out from the live-in relationship. One more thing I want to add, under section 16 of Hindu Marriage Act 1955. If you have read section 16 of Hindu Marriage Act, you must be remember that there was a word void and voidable marriage. Means anything, whatever has, if a child has been begotten, conceived, delivered in the void and voidable marriage will be considered as a legitimate child, not a illegitimate child. Means whenever we have any kind of doubt, whenever we have anything which is going to affect the social justice, in the name of the social justice we have to see the intention of the legislature of making of these sections. Means section 6, the intention of section 6 of is so clear by the legislature is to provide the legitimacy to the child who could get, if the legitimate tag not be given to such child, he will be called as a bastardized child. In that context, we have to draw a doctrine that is called the beneficial construction of doctrine. Means whenever there is any conflict, then we have to see the harmonious construction between the laws, and whenever we see the intention, we have to see the the benefit of the particular law. So if we see the intention of legislature under section 16, that is totally clear that it wants to give the tag of legitimacy and remove the tag of illegitimacy. Hence it is very clear the article 14, article 32 and article 21 always stand with everyone, whether it is legitimate or illegitimate. Hence you cannot deny those right to any individual on the name of other people, right, or he is not a legitimate child. Hence the human rights and the fundamental right is you have from since your birth. Now my another aspect which I'm asking, what about the child or the people of homosexuality? I know the homosexuality is something where the people are into the existence since 2018. Before that, section 377 was criminalized, but in case of Navdev Singh Johar and other versus Union of India in 2018, Honorable Supreme Court has decriminalized this particular section and stated that now it is no more a criminalized act. Means it has declared only. There is nothing any straight law on this. Means like there is no direct law upon the protection of homosexual people. Means you know this thing, the science has grown so fast, the technology has grown so well, that if the thing will not be given in favor of the homosexual people, that may cause in future various trouble to the society. Means like it is possible the child will be conceived by way of IVF, it is possible by way of surrogacy, it is possible by the sperm donor. Means like in any way homosexual will also get a family. In fact, in New York in 2018 case, there was lower court has allowed for the paternity right to the child. But in case of India, they have just decriminalized the act, such section, but there is no such protection, no such laws on this ground which can directly protect the right of legitimate such child out of such relationship. And the last which I would like to tell, what about the concept of surrogacy? Means the child who has been come from the side of the surrogate mother. Means what is surrogate? We know this thing, the a female get hired by the parents who is ready to deliver the child for the purpose of the particular parents. In that case, the lady transfer her embargo from her womb to another lady. In that context, there is no access between the male and the surrogate mother. Although the legislature giving the very clear about it that the child will be called the paternal child of the particular father, but there is no access between the male and this surrogate mother. So what is the use of using the word of SS into section 112? The question is that here the time when the legislature should think about the amendment of section 112 and need to get amended by way of various exception and explanation, so that in the right of other party can be protected, especially the child who has been begotten and conceived, delivered during the time of such kind of relationship. So it is very clear that in the conclusion I would like to say that only the thing which is right now required, the amendment of section 112, and somewhere to give the primary importance to the DNA reports, scientific proven fact, because it will save the time and at the same time it will protect the right of the child. Hence it is very clear from all the aspect, the DNA test, scientific proof and other aspect need to be added directly in section 112, so the right of individual and child will not get infringed. This is all about my topic. One more question I need to ask from all of you, if you are very able to answer for that, whether personal law, that is Hindu law, Muslim law, Christian, whatever the laws are into the existing, whether these laws can supersede Indian Evidence Act. Means like, you can claim your right on the name of personal law that your law doesn't allow for the paternity test? Answer is no. Obviously not. We have a uniform process that is under Indian Evidence Act under section 112. Irrespective you are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jews, whatever you have having a religion, only what you need to take it is section 112 to taking the ground of paternity. Means like, there is no one is going to curtail your right, no one is asking for that you don't have right to claim that because of your personal law doesn't allow. It is your right, you can go and ask for this, but as a matter of course the court will not allow it. This is all about of my topic. Hope you liked it. If any question is having by anyone, please drop in the comment section. Thank you so much.